we produce, the level 2, level 3 regulation, to make sure that we prioritize the right things and that we put emphasis on the right places, as well as we have more of a holistic view so that the overall system works smoothly. For that, we developed a methodology of prioritization of the level 2 and level 3 mandates that gives us the ability to determine which products are more important in relative terms, because they have a bigger impact for financial stability, a bigger impact in terms of industry implications, and which ones are less important. And we're also going through different parts of the single rulebook by theme to try to have a holistic assessment of how the products that have been developed there are working holistically. The second area that we're working is on the reporting requirements and how we are developing that as a community, not just as the EBA, but as a supervisory regulatory community in the areas of interest, mainly banking and payments. There we are assessing both the current stock of reporting requirements with the goal to try to evaluate its current use and its current usefulness at the same time, and the goal with an overall goal, hopefully, of reducing the reporting requirement by a target of about 25%, which is in line with the 25% overall reduction on burden requirements that has been set by the European Commission. And at the same time, we're also thinking not about what is being reported, but how we ask for future data going forward. What we call our change management system, to ensure that we asked in a manner that first is, if I may say, organized, so that it can be planned, it can be structured, it can be well understood, and at the same time coordinated, so that there's no excessive ad hoc requirements or unnecessary duplication of requirements. The third area in which we're working is how the regulation is being implemented, not just by us, but through the whole process. So, by us, by the supervisory authorities at the national level, by the resolution authorities also at the national, supranational level, and by the macroprudential authorities, particularly on the different stacks of capital requirements, to try to assess again there. 2 points: whether we are doing that in a sufficiently coordinated manner so as to provide clear visibility to institutions of what the expectations are in terms of their evolution over time of capital requirements, so that they can have their own proper manner of planning with a forward-looking horizon. And second, whether we are also at the same time assigning to each one of these buffers its proper role to make sure that it works as it meant to be in the regulation. For that, we will come forward with some suggestions and ideas that may require level 1 changes farther down, so it will contribute to the further debate in this area. And the fourth area is how we're working internally, where the basic message I think that we have is, okay, we've been for 15 years building up the regulatory framework. That's work that has been done. That's really good. So at the margin now, we need to make sure that that regulatory framework is working, it's being applied as it meant to be. So we're going to put more emphasis on supervisory convergence work and assess how supervisors are implementing those regulatory requirements, and see whether that's working in a way that was meant to be, particularly, with one obvious goal as we assess these areas, but very important goal for us, which is that we need to assess this in terms of, are these changes, are these implications fostering the single market or fragmenting the single market? Because one of the concerns as we think of simplification is that simplification may end up meaning fragmentation of the single market, and that's certainly not what we want. Because as we think that simplification is necessary and is good, I should say that it's a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient condition for EU market integration. And EU market integration, I think, is an imperative, and we must go farther. I like very much the title of the report of Enrico Leta, which was, the single market is much more than just a market. And I think that's something that we keep in mind. The banking union, the savings and investment union, which are the 2 key products for the single market in the financial sector, are essential. They're incomplete. I would say the banking union is incomplete. The savings and investment union is just starting, so it's no wondering that it's incomplete. But the banking union has been around for over 10 years and continues incomplete. And that needs to be addressed, I think, from our point of view, and we could not be complacent on that. Why do we like the single market? Because I think we all agree, or we will all agree here, that there are 2 aspects. First, the quantitative evidence that's being put forward to us on the potential unlocking for growth of the single market, not just in financial services, but in every sector of the economy, is very compelling. And we can cite the Draghi report, the IMF assessments on what the equivalent tariffs are implied in the frictions in the existing single market and in the European Union, just to suggest that. But also, I think financial integration will first reduce barriers that are there today. Will improve risk sharing, private risk sharing in the context of the European Union. That will enhance by itself financial stability, having better risk sharing, and obviously will better address one of the challenges of making sure that we channel savings to investment in the proper manner within the Union. So with that, we have, despite the process that we have made so far, we have clear areas in which we need to work better. We have home-host coordination challenges in the European Union banking sector, differences in national implementation of different rules. So we know there varying supervisory approaches, despite having a single supervisor in big parts of the union. We do not have, obviously, which is the banking union, we do not have full convergence in every direction. I think that's important that we make sure that those differences do not result in fragmentation, that they result in proper discretion, but not in fragmentation. Now, looking to our work program for 2026, what is that we're focusing on for the next 4 years, for next year, apologies. At the policy front, we will continue with the implementation of the level 2, level 3 of the prudential package on the banking package, so what's called the Basel implementation. We will, in supervisory convergence, as I said before, we're shifting resources to put more emphasis on peer reviews and assessments of how supervision is being implemented. On risk assessment, we are working on a medium to long-term change on the stress test as a key component of our risk assessment methodology. Will encompass, one, reducing a little bit the burden of the stress test by using more top-down modules, as well as relying more on supervisory convergence and supervisory reporting information, regular reporting information, rather than ad hoc, consistent with what I said before about reporting, also incorporating other modules, for instance, climate-related modules into the stress test, which is something that we have pending and we've been working on. That will be, as I say, a multi-year program, but it will show already impact in the 2027 exercise that we're planning. And then finally, in a new oversight and supervisory responsibilities, we will be, taking on with the other ISAs the oversight of the critical third-party providers. We published today the list of those critical third-party providers have been designated within the European Union, or will start immediately the oversight of them. And also, as we implement MiCA, given our responsibilities in direct supervision of significant issuers of asset reference tokens, we'll start the assessment of significance early this next year. And as a result of that, as new issuers are being assigned as significant, we will start direct supervision of those. Finally, this is what we're doing. I'll tell you one thing we're not going to be doing anymore, which is we're transferring our responsibilities and their AML responsibilities and terrorist financing to AMLA, to the new authority. So we will finish our mandate there at the end of this year. And actually, a big part of our colleagues have already joined AMLA and moved on beyond Paris into Frankfurt. Now, we have been designing these policy-oriented research events throughout the years, to help us, because we need rigorous empirical analysis to help support our policy decisions. And that's, I think, more relevant now than ever. So this year, we particularly encourage submissions on the impact of global capital flows, so market efficiency and financial intermediation, the access to finance by entrepreneurs, which I think is an issue that's very much in the policy agenda right now, and ensuring the capital is being allocated to productive investments as possible. Mechanisms for management risk, and also, as I mentioned before, the ESG integration into our regulatory frameworks. I think that it's obvious to me, I think it's obvious to most people probably participating in this conference, but we should make it obvious also to the rest of society that your research is very important in providing us evidence-based for the next generation of financial regulation. One of the claims, one of the demands that we hear the most is that we need to have proper quantitative impact assessment, proper assessment of the policies being implemented, and just to make sure that the system and the policies that we want to just not provide a resilient sector, but also an efficient, proportionate, and supportive for economic growth. And for that, I think your input today is very important to us. Efficient and proportionate, while preserving means financial stability, means that basically we have to have the tools to make sure that allocating savings to investments is done properly within the within the economy. Support of economic growth also means to me that we need to make sure that we have the tools, the way in which we allocate that investment in the proper way. We need to think about what should be debt, what should be equity, what should be the combination of those two, what should be structured through bank finance or through other forms of financial intermediation. So I think your research can provide inputs into all of this. I look forward to learning a lot for it. I think that also thinking holistically, the resilience of our sector is a genuine achievement that we have done over the last 15 years. But as I said at the beginning, we should not be just confident that resilient is enough. We want to make sure that we're resilient while at the same time efficient and effective in the way we are. So for the event today, for the agenda today, I think we have some very good examples of research on some of these difficult questions, on discussing empirical evidence on cross-border banking activity, on discussing issues of how global banks are working internally with branches to subsidiaries, on discussing issues related to consolidation, related to ESG issues. I think that's all very important topics that will be covered today, and I look forward to your views, your suggestions, even your maybe challenges or your critiques. There are some as well. So let me conclude. I'm very confident that this year event will once again bring together, generate the rich discussions and provide us with very useful ideas and insights. Over the next 2 days, I hope that we have good discussions. I hope that you're not shy to participate, that you're not shy to state your views and provide different perspectives. At the end, the advantage of our research workshop policy discussion is that we don't make policy decisions, we just discuss. So that's really good, and it's very good to make sure that we assess all the different alternatives, particularly when we talk about topics like what we're today, which will shape the future of EU finance in a significant way. So your work matters to us. It's very important. The research presented here over the next 2 days, I think, will shape to a high degree the way we think about the policy choices that we'll have to make in the future. And I want to thank you already for what you've done so far by putting your papers forward, by doing work in this area, by coming forward to present and to discuss. And I look forward to your contributions and learning from you. Thank you very much for your presence today. And I suggest that we should start with the real part of the conference now.